Personal person. Started working last year. It's good.
How are you? Good to see you.
Arms.
Oh, yeah.
Work to be mom, expecting to see all coming.
I usually do.
Yeah.
I usually follow pretty far along.
Oh, it's great.
And I said, no, that's almost
He actually did walk around in the morning. And school. Cut it off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All the women. Half of my life, still not in it. You've been to the house.
I got my top seven. What?
And ours is forever, it's pretty-
Guys, we're gonna get rolling. It's 11:30. How's everybody? It's 11:32 exactly. Not 11:30. I was waiting for someone else. Waiting for someone else to start. Can we erase this? Okay, we're gonna go through our stuff real quick before we jump into our CE. So let's hear some wins for the week real quick.
We have like 4 or 5.
Do we want to get a scribe real quick since I can't write very well?
Sure.
Okay, so your win is that you got a listing? Are you pulling your listing up? While you're pulling it up, if that's what you're doing, who else has a win they want to share?
I bought an investment property in June. I finally got finished and rented. It was really good to like have a plan, fix it, like.
You guys, this is an awesome story, not necessarily just this one place. He told me he's got 11 doors now. And what, 3 years ago, how many did you have? You guys, that's awesome. That was. Yeah. That's awesome. And then it feels good to have them all rented and you got no issues.
All but one,
Knock on wood.
I did,
We're gonna do one for these real quick. So-
Very fast.
that was my win.
Okay, so you're gonna share your listing. I know we were gonna do a abbreviated team meeting real quick, but I know Sherry has a ton of listings that we all need to know about. That's one of the reasons why I want to do this part.
Well, I'll let her go first.
No, you hurry and do yours. Since you were pulling yours up.
Well, I wasn't pulling up, but it's on about just under an acre land in Far West. It's 780, I think. 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, immaculate condition. ground wood. Got a little shop out back. It's sold for
How big is the shop?
the shop's this little, it's probably 500 square feet, but plenty of room for more space.
Gotcha.
Probably one of the best homes as far as condition goes.
That's what all sellers say.
This-
Mine's the best.
It's the best. No, it is.
Um,
It's really nice.
Super cute.
Yeah.
All that
You guys remember, we have that new spreadsheet thing that you can submit stuff to. So yeah. Okay, Sherry, what do you got?
7 that are now active, 2 coming on Friday. Friday is Kaysville, a really killer area, 725, 36, 37 square feet, 2-story, in a Gordon cul-de-sac. And then the one going live in Tooele for 450 with a massive loaded shop. The shop's worth more than the house. They can go commercial or residential. So a townhome in Salt Lake for 425. 2-bed right on Second Avenue, right near everything, and then 1.25 condo luxury living right on Broadway, which is like 3,000 square feet. It's one of the only double units. Townhome in West Haven for 420. That's like not even a year new, and he's being transferred out of state, basically almost vacant. A 55 plus for only 250 in Rose Park. And that's all single level living, really, really quiet. A Harrisville townhome for only 305, really cute. the 1-car garage, 3-bed, 2-bath. What was that? Harrisville, sorry, just around the corner from North Ogden, actually. There. Yeah,
305 Sherry.
305, and that's lower than anything else with a 1-car garage, really cute 3-bed, 2-bath.
What's the HOA on that one?
135 a month. And then Roy, a condo with over 3,000 square feet for 450, 3-bed, 3-bath, 2-car garage, loaded remodeled kitchen, gorgeous, gorgeous, over 3,000 square feet there. And then a new one in Syracuse, which, yes, I'll preface, I'm not normally a thriller about Syracuse, but I'm like, it is absolutely killer. It's a 1 owner, it's so loaded, it's ridiculous, 3,345 square feet. 3-bed, 2-bath, 3-car garage, 288 square foot deck, like it's got every upgrade you can think. They had this finally be their retirement home and now they have to move to Oklahoma.
Oh, what was the price?
Yeah, for family. So, 650.
Is that a 1 level?
Yes. Everything, yes.
Does everyone have a buyer for those?
So that.
I'm looking at 2 of those, I'm like.
Should be 9, and I just want to tell you guys too, there's a killer, 2-story, like $11 a month HOA in Syracuse. It's really West Syracuse, but it's a brand new home. This guy was, like 27 years old. Just lost his job, has a 10-month-old baby, and baby on the way, she's emotional, but literally like he was in a hospital at 21 years old, and his second tour into Syria on day 1, the plane split in half. And he split up. So like, I'm gonna sell it for free, but the point is, it may not even sell because they're already behind on those payments, and there's a couple in Fremont that are already behind on their payments. It'd be a killer, either of those would be killer rentals right now. So
What's the price on that?
Syracuse?
Yeah.
For sale, it would probably be like 550, and he just needs to get out, but honestly, right now, he could keep it, rent it to anybody, or have an investor rent it. Right now, it's in gorgeous condition, it was like a model home. And or then if someone even rented it, he could move back in a year once he gets his job.
Is that down in Stillwater?
Is it VA?
I think it is, and it's VA, it's like 2% interest rate, so if you do put it on, it'll be at like a 2.125 interest rate. But I don't even know, like, right now, if we could just get some, like, move in for 12 months. You know, it just, another VA is behind in Fremont. Couple little stressful that an investor can pick those up in a heartbeat and turn them or keep them, and it'd be immediate.
I may have someone develop. Is the master on the main floor?
On the 2-story,
Yeah.
in Syracuse, no, it's the whole process.
And Tremont is what? Is it a house? It's a-
Yeah, Fremont is a wicked inexpensive, like probably 300, 325. And that could rent or, yeah, that'd be a perfect little rental to right by the house. Awesome.
Okay.
Justin,
I have a horse property, acre, 4-car garage, super clean, clean in the beginning. It's barely over an acre with a barn, 675.
Don't be telling people about that one, Justin. I might have somebody for it, so keep it on the down low.
Troy and Fabian's eyes perk up when you say horse property. They're like, they never wanted a horse property until now.
I don't have a horse property, but I have a horse.
East Layton, 3-bed, 2-bath, for 435. And then North Salt Lake, 5-bed, 3-bath. 5-bed, 3-bath, 45. That one has a small HOA at $35 a month, but it includes 2 pools, 2 clubhouses, gym, spa, all of it. The things. All of it was like, sorry, Layton was 435. 3-bed, 2-bath. East Layton. Single family. 435. And then there's one in Syracuse coming up possibly tomorrow. I'm making sure. Possibly tomorrow. It'll be bring your own price in the 5s.
okay, bring your own price.
But that one's 3-bedroom, 2-bath Rambler, 1 owner, solar panels, built in 2013. That one, to be, yes, it'll be like high.
Oh, I.
Yeah,
I-
like 5-ish, like 580,
585.
585. Really quick, Allison. I have a quarter of an acre of property right across the street from the cemetery. Fully remodeled, super great. Really not your favorite. 4 bedroom, 2 bath. And then I have a Clearville, that 4 bedroom, 4 bath. It was the model home for Ivory. And these guys, got a job transfer. I think that's super grateful. It's in Clearfield, but it's in Syracuse, high boundary. Is that Monterey, Monterey State? Yeah, Monterey State. No, it's across from utility trailer. Yeah.
Hey, don't forget in the weekly snapshot, every week you're gonna have a link to the wants and needs, and there's a document there. So if there's something you're searching for, you can look for those in advance. You don't have to wait Tuesdays to talk about your upcoming listings. You can add them in here. This is not in violation of the clear cooperation rules because it's only our office that sees those. So you are not required to do anything specific with it because these cannot be advertised to the public if they are not yet on the MLS. If they are in the MLS, make sure you drop that in there as well. Hey, anyone else? Last chance.
I have a building lot in Fremont,
Okay.
half an acre for $143,000.
143.
First exit heading to Fremont. Turn right at the corner of the building.
That was not narrow down to three.
Where the new Maverick is.
Okay. Anyone else? Last chance.
Bring
All right.
your own builder,
Bring your own builder.
or they have a builder, but either way.
Okay.
And it's all stubbed and has a sub curb and gutter.
Okay. Cool. We gotta move. Sorry, guys. I don't know why this isn't working, but it's really annoying.
Good job, Steph.
Thanks.
I think I kind of abbreviated it, got most of it. So.
I feel like it usually starts higher on the board.
Maybe.
Like this.
He's known me since I was 5, it's fine.
Okay. I don't know what is going on.
See everything.
Okay, don't forget to do your calls in a TCPA friendly way. It's on you, not us. If you don't, we remind you all the time. Upcoming classes, Ignite, and team meeting, find the gold mine in your database assessment. Don't miss those. Team meeting tonight is Wade and I. On Thursday, it's Mikkel and Troy, so don't miss those. Those will be awesome. Remember, everyone's invited. Halloween party is Tuesday, October 31st, 11:30 to 1. Wear a costume because it's fun, and chili cook-off, and you can bring your kids if they're out of school that day. Business planning clinic, very quickly, snap this. You need to come to business planning clinic. It is on November 2nd, and from 9:30 to 4. Profit Share Virtual Summit is October 26th. We'll talk about this more later, but essentially, it's not just about profit share, it's about building wealth, changing lives, creating a legacy. There's a watch party. You must RSVP for it. It's here in the office. Cookies with Santa's December 2nd. If you want to participate, make sure you reply to your email or snap this right now. It's also on our Facebook page. Family reunion. Guys, there's a huge announcement that they are being so they keep dropping all these little hints. It's going to be a big speaker. They said that the minute it's announced, it's going to sell out across brokerages in general, not just with KW. So if you're planning to go, early bird pricing ends, I believe October 15th. I'll get a verification for that. But they said it will sell out. They are going to announce the speaker, but I think they're waiting until early bird pricing is done. And there's even been mentioned that there might be 2 big ones, but I'm kind of guessing just based on some of the stuff that it's potentially Mel Robbins or Tony Robbins, and those are both pretty freaking big names. So you're going to want to be there. It's in Vegas. You can drive. I promise you, you will never regret money spent on family reunion ever. So if you haven't been, you need to go and bring your friends, subscribe to our YouTube page. That's going to be our sponsor. Let me escape and get to our PowerPoint. Maybe that I'm hoping. Is it in Keynote? Yeah. Why can I not? That's where it was supposed to start.
Go back to
Oh, well, it's gonna work for you.
There you go.
Wow, here you go. I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourselves and I'm gonna get out of your way. Sorry, I know that was more time. You have
You're okay. You're good. I don't know how many of you guys were here. What it was 2 months ago, 3 months ago, maybe a year ago that I thought it all blends together. It was definitely after COVID. Because you know, that's the measuring stick now. Did that happen before COVID or after COVID? Yeah, yeah. Nobody was wearing masks, so it must have been well after COVID. So, my name is Ryan Huskins. I work for Fidelity Title, which is also Amicus Title. I speak Spanish, so I will occasionally come up here for Heather and her team to do closings in Spanish. Happy to travel for those to help out the team. So if you have Spanish speaking clients, feel free to send them over to them and I'll come and do your closing for you.
I actually did not know that.
Yes, yes. And not to toot my own horn, but I speak really good Spanish.
Well,
I have clients often that tell their clients that I speak better Spanish.
So do you come up here just for English speaking too?
If you need me to,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely, yep. So I've been in title now for almost 20 years. So I've done everything there is to do. I worked on the HUD team for a while, back when there were lots and lots of foreclosures in 08 and 09. So I learned HUD inside and out. I've done commercial and land and pretty much whatever. So any of your needs, we can help out. Wire fraud has definitely been something that needs to be front and center in your minds. Oh, real quick too, there is a sign-in sheet that I think got passed around. If you came in after it went past you, make sure you sign in, because I want to get you guys all CE credit for this.
Yeah, this is my last hour meeting.
I'm the same boat. I renew this month. Friday is my last hour. So yeah, it's nice to have that last one under your belt. So I actually wrote this wire fraud class a couple of years back when I heard about some wire fraud that had happened. But wire fraud has really, really morphed over the last few years. I'd love to just kind of open it up first and let's just talk about what you know about wire fraud. What experiences have you had? What things have you heard about wire fraud? How's it happening? Who's it happening to?
It's happening to me.
Yeah.
Happened to my client. We have
I think we talked about that last time I was here.
$56,000 or something. Oh.
Yeah.
I think they pretend to be you, like they get your email pretty dang close. And it's obviously through email.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else have experience with wire fraud or things that have been important to them to know about wire fraud? So let's dig into it a little bit. When wire fraud first became a problem, it was a title company. We would close a seller, we would get a phone call or an email from the seller saying, you know what, just kidding. I don't want you to wire those funds to my personal account. Can you wire them to my business account? Here's the information. One title company fell for that. And I don't remember their loss, but it was around $60,000 loss. The title companies, we're pretty good about sharing our information with each other. And we closed the door on that real quick. I can guarantee you, if you call your favorite title company and say, what happens if I close a seller and they call back the next day to change their wire instructions? They will tell you that that's not okay. That is a huge red flag for any title company out there. So that has become something that's harder for bad guys to do. So your title company has all of these best practices. I can almost guarantee. If they don't, you should close at a different time. Because we're one line of defense against wire fraud, and this is probably the easiest way for a bad guy to get in and get funds diverted. So we would always look for wire instructions to come in. We much prefer to get them from them in person, but if there's ever an email or a phone call adjusting those, everything will be put on hold until we can confirm, which includes calling the client at a phone number they gave us at closing and talking to them about whether or not it's them. And I don't think it's going to let us advance because I think you're on.
Sorry, we're trying
That's
to get
okay.
it to like
Is it being
go
done?
away.
You're okay. We don't really need the PowerPoint. We're just going to talk.
Okay, now I think we're gonna be,
Is that going to work?
Yeah,
Yep.
okay,
Do you have control again with your click?
I do, yep. Yes.
Perfect, thanks.
So. You guys all familiar with phishing? You guys probably get lots of phishing emails. I get lots of phishing.
I get,
What's that?
I get strawberries.
Strawberries? Oh, well,
They're
there you go.
even doing text now too.
Yep. Yeah, they're trying to get as creative as they can. What's the point of sending a phishing email? What do they want? Your login information. They want you to click on this to see these completed documents. It's going to take you to a screen that looks just like the one that's real when a title company sends you a secure email. And you're going to put in your information and then now know your login and your password to your email. And then from there is when they can now hunker down and they will actually watch your emails. And they'll just, a lot of times they'll put rules on there. So if you get something that says payoff, or if you get something that says wire, it will flag them and they try and monitor the conversation to the point where they can insert themselves and send an email that looks like it was from you when it wasn't really from you. Or if they have enough control of your email, they could send it out of your inbox. So phishing emails are just specifically trying to get your login information, and they're really good at that. So these were all emails that I got at a different title company I was working at. Sharon Kearns really is an escrow officer at Meridian Title. She has nothing to do with that email. Those people saw an email with hers, just like they could see an email from me, and they copied and pasted her info off of it and used it. I have gotten emails like that are secured emails before, that's what they look like. ZixCorp is a company that does secure emails. And if you get a secure email attachment from ZixCorp, it looks just like that. So one of the things that we teach our folks to look for, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it from the back, is email addresses. So this one says that the name is Sharon Kearns, which is who they're saying it's from. But the email address says info@nickhealy.co.uk. So it's not really from Sharon. I can take an email address, I can take a Gmail, and I can tell it the name on the account is whatever I want. So I could make it say KW Success Slayton, and make it that if the person only looks at the name, they might think that it's coming from you guys. So watch phishing emails. They're the main way that bad guys are getting it. So more emails, sometimes they'll have, like this one was one just saying that my inbox was going to be closed. So not using a specific transaction, using, hey, we're going to shut down your inbox, which isn't going to happen for me. I'm at a title company and our IT department runs it. But it might work for an agent who has a Yahoo or a Gmail, and you're like, whoa, I need my email to be able to function and make money. So they know that people might click on that kind of a request. Sometimes they'll have things they're trying to make that look like it's a PDF attachment, but in order to see it, you have to click access file, which is going to take you to some email or some website, and they're going to try and make you log in and steal your information. Again, both of those ones have weird email addresses. If you look, they're not from an email that I would recognize as I'm doing my title work. So when we talk with our assistants and our teams, we say, hey, if you get an email from someone that's not on a transaction that you recognize, immediately stop. And before you click on any attachments, before you open anything, take a look at it. If they give you an email address with like this one, they said it's about 1401 and 1409 Superior Avenue. We didn't have a transaction on that. The email looks super legit. They stole First American's logo and put on the email. It looks really real. As a matter of fact, these both came from the same place. Title at tourismcares.org, which, you know, they put First American Title as the name, and then they reference an address. They try and make it look legit. Emails I get from First American do say their file number and the address in them. So the bad guys are smart enough to see what people are using and try and mimic that so that you feel comfortable opening it. But always, if you mouse over that, if you hover your mouse over it, you'll see that it takes you to some other weird login. So phishing emails stink. One of the things that the bad guys do, when I was at my prior title company, we actually had a transaction where we were doing a closing for Andrew Glad. And he got this email that says, to avoid closing delay, you are to wire cash to close to the title company this morning. Please confirm receipt of this email so I can provide wiring instruction without an S. Luckily for us, Andrew Glad was sent. His agent had told him, be careful about wire instructions. If you get a weird email, here's your title company's info. So he called us and was like, hey, what's this email that I got from you? And we were able to stop it. This is what my email at that time actually looked like. And this is what the bad guys put on as my email address. So it looks just like it. You know, if you're just an average consumer and you're just like, oh yeah, I need to wire title company their money, you might bite on it, which is why the really, really, really big onus is on you guys to make sure your clients know what's going on. Because the bad guys can make it look like it's from you or me or their lender. But if they wire their money to someone who's not that person, it's really hard to get back. So that just talks about what happens if you click on a phishing email. One of the things that it can do is it can put a keystroke logger on your system, which just watches what your keyboard is doing. So then the next time you type in gmail.com and you type in your email address and you type in a word or phrase, it knows that your login and your password. And just it can watch all of that. So some of them will do that. Some of them they'll go in and do rules like we talked about, kicking emails that say anything about a wire or anything about a payoff out to them so that they can try and interject themselves in the transaction.
Okay, that's really
Is
scary.
there a way to see if that's on your, if that, like that, forward,
The rules?
yeah, the rules?
Yes. So one of the gals in our, it's harder if you use Outlook because Outlook is a client side that lives on your computer, but your emails still exist on a server. So I can have client side rules on Outlook that I set up. Like in my case, I have rules when we get a wire notification, it forwards it out to my team email, which I like. You can also set up those same kind of rules on the server side, which makes it harder to see in Outlook. So where most of you are probably Gmail, I would guess, we can go into Gmail and look at forwarding rules.
Our MLS actually has that. That's how it tells if you share your MLS password with somebody. So
Oh, okay.
it tracks your log, it tracks your keystrokes.
Oh.
I don't think it, I think it.
I think your
tracks
MLS watches IP address. Yeah, it watches your IP address.
It does a combination of them for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So, but, so rules you would just want, you'd need to go into your email and look where the rules are set up. We had an escrow officer who, at my old company, who her email address had gotten compromised, and there was a rule in there that said payoffs to kick it out to another party. And so this other email was getting all of her emails that talked about payoffs. And so they had emailed her a supposed payoff for a hard money loan, which again is hard for us to manage that because a payoff for a hard money loan might just come from some guy's AOL account. You know, I've had sellers and hard money guys who are like, yeah, I'll send it to my AOL account. And it's easier for us to know whether it's PennyMac or not when they send us a payoff. But when it's just an email, it can be really difficult. So the main thing that I preach to my clients is securing your email using two-factor authentication. Do you guys have two-factor authentication set up? You know what two-factor authentication is?
They go into your, type into your thing. So if she types into my email, I get a notification that I have to acknowledge.
Yeah, exactly. If I gave someone in here my login and my password to Gmail and you tried to log into my Gmail, my phone will pop up and say, hey, someone just tried to log in from Layton. Is this you? You have to have that on your email. That's your best defense, so that if the bad guys get your information and all of a sudden you get a notification that someone in Uruguay is trying to sign into your email, you know it's not you and you can stop them having access. That's your best line of defense as an agent. Otherwise, changing your passwords, not using password as your password, you know, that the basic kind of stuff. Be really skeptical when you get an incoming email. If you're not expecting an email from someone, even if it looks like it's a deal or something coming through the door, be skeptical and double check before. And know that links in emails don't always go where they say. When you are drafting an email, I can actually make the words that you click on say whatever I want. You know, a lot of times you'll have those words that say click here. So I could have it say, you know, click here for gmail.com. And really it takes me to their version of some site that looks like Gmail. So just being extra careful about looking at emails. The next line of defense, and probably even more important, is educating your consumers our buyers just don't know. They're too trusting. And so I tell all my agents, don't ever provide wire instructions. If your client asks you for wire instructions, I know it's hard because we're A-type personalities and we want to be the one that gives them the answers. Tell them to call me. Let me be the one who sends it out to them. That takes the risk off of you and your email if they get wire instructions that are not good.
Do you actually have agents? Yeah.
I still occasionally will have agents that are like, or a loan officer who will say, send me your wire instructions, which I also think is terrifying. Generally, I think of title company and loan officer emails as being relatively secure. I mean, Fidelity, we have a giant IT department. I can't do anything on my emails. Loan officers, depending on the size of their company, may not have quite as intense of an IT department. And agents, you are your own IT department, right? So it's more important for you guys to be extra careful and I hate to say it this way, but scare your clients. Tell them that there are bad guys out there trying to take their money. You know, that you're
My mouth. I'll do it.
yeah. Yeah, and if you get an email from the title company, even if it's the day before closing and you're positive this is from the title company, call me and verify. I like also for my clients to give their clients my phone number and email. I have them say, hey, when they pull up to the bank with the wire instructions, have them pull out their phone and call me just to verify that they're sending it to the right place. Because I would rather they take an extra minute or two than lose their money. You're okay. And say, do you need to jump over?
No, she just can't see what that says in the.
Oh, I don't know what it says either.
Sorry.
Yeah, it says you are screen sharing. Secure emails are a pain in the butt, right? But they are very necessary. That's one extra step that we have to be able to keep people's information safe. So when if I do talk to an end consumer, like a cash buyer, and they're like, I want your wire instructions, rather than making them drive to my office, I'll get their information, I'll make them stay on the phone with me, I will send them to them by a secure email, wait till they open it, wait till they read the numbers back to me, and then I'll say, okay, those are good wire instructions, you can go send your wire. And it sounds excessive, but it really needs to be that way. So, I recently got an email. And this one says internal, so I didn't share these numbers with. Fidelity, one of the benefits of Fidelity is that they have a wire fraud department. So when I was at Surety Title, who got bought by Old Republic, we were 25 employees, like we didn't have a wire fraud department. With Fidelity, if I get a spoofed email, if I get someone trying to insert them into a transaction, I forward all the information over to wirefraud@fnf.com. And then they internally go into action to try and figure out where the breach is, who it was, if any money was actually diverted. And then they actually give us a list. So this one is, so this was September's report. Fidelity nationwide, I say we have a 20-ish, 25-ish% market share. We're one of the big guys out there, but this is only Fidelity. And this is only reported events. So if an escrow officer or their assistant saw that there was an attempt at wire fraud and just shut it down and didn't worry about reporting it, it's not on this list. So these are reported events. Anyone have a guess how much in just the month of September was, so it breaks down into different divisions. There's amount targeted. So that would be how much was at play. If it was lender's wire or if it was buyer's cash to close, or a payoff that they were trying to get us to send somewhere else. How much was targeted and tried to get diverted in the month of September for just Fidelity? How much?
$1 billion.
$1 billion, not quite that much. Thank goodness.
I bet it's probably in the $1 million range.
It is almost 11 million bucks. And that's just Fidelity. So if you take that and multiply it times the other 80% of the market, it's probably $50-60 million in 1 month that bad guys tried to divert. One of the people that works on this team for Fidelity, it was really interesting. They had a meeting and he came in and he actually was one of those guys like the white hat hackers who used to be a bad guy and then come work for the good guys. He used to
Did he get immunity in his deal?
I don't know, but it was, I was blown away by his story. He was like, listen, this isn't some guy in his mom's basement hacking into your email. We owned office space. We had cubicles where we would work all day long trying to get into emails. Realtors were one of our #1 targets because they work in big dollar transactions, and we would celebrate anytime we got access to a realtor's email. Like, it was like when you're on the sales floor and you got your big sale and everybody celebrates with you. It's that organized, which I was like, wait, what? Like, that is frightening. The thing that I think scares me the most about this report, though, well, I'm going to come back to this report because I want to talk about one other type of wire fraud. So that secures. So one other type of wire fraud that we have recently seen is payoff fraud. So my team had a transaction where we were doing a seller side. I think we were a couple of days away from closing, and the seller emailed us and said, hey, can I get a copy of my closing statement for our upcoming closing? And my team was like, sure, you're a seller, here you go. And he said, that payoff doesn't look right. I'm going to call my payoff lender. And we were like, well, you can't do that because our rule is that we have to get the payoff directly from the lender. You can't send it to us. And he was like, oh, that's okay. Tell you what, give me your fax number. I'll have them send it to you. And we were like, okay, seems weird. And so we were kind of on alert when this thing was going down anyway. So the original payoff amount was $249, $230, and 66 cents. And the next day we got this payoff statement for $240, $055, 60 cents. Almost exactly the same, like scary the same. There's a little bit of difference in like font size, you know, but other than that, like super good fake. And so we got looking at it, and here's where the kicker was. Wire instructions, Mr. Cooper banks at Chase Bank. And luckily we have a funder who wires to Mr. Cooper day in and day out for all our transactions. So when we brought it to her to look at, she was like, no, they don't bank at Wells Fargo. That is not Mr. Cooper's wiring instructions. So this bad guy knew the seller was closing. They knew they had a transaction going on. They knew they had a payoff with Mr. Cooper. So like the bad guys are in there enough that they know enough details that they can look convincing. So that is one of the areas of wire fraud that Fidelity categorizes. So we have, they have buyer side fraud or seller side fraud. Seller side is like this, where they're trying to get us to wire the payoff to the wrong place. Title companies, again, have gotten really careful on this. Fidelity's rule, and probably most title companies' rule these days, is we call to verify every single wire that we send out. It slows the process down just a little bit because I have to call and wait on hold with Wells Fargo, except for the ones that we have verified multiple times. So like Mr. Cooper, we know is not at Wells Fargo. So we have a database that is internal that we keep. But all of our sellers, all of our other types of payoffs, we call and verify. So seller side attempted diversions in September was actually 0. It's gotten to the point where now they've shifted their entire focus over to buyer side. Because, well, and this is the part that scares me. So in 2023 year to date, anybody want to take a plug at total attempted diversions year to date? 745 million. Thank goodness it's not that high, but it is almost 200 million, 197 million. Again, just at Fidelity. So nationwide, probably 700.
That's what you said, nationwide.
Yeah, sorry, nationwide, outside, or including Fidelity and all other title companies. They attempted, they attempted 200 million. They were successful in diverting 22,700,000. $22 million. The seller sides were 10,641,000. So earlier this year, this was a big problem. Title companies really tightened things down, particularly Fidelity. They got real serious about making sure you're verifying. The one really nice thing is they actually have another area that is the amount recovered. So when it's a payoff like this, if we send it out and we discover it fast enough, we can alert the banks and they can go through the FBI and they can actually shut down the wire before the people are able to withdraw it from their account. And we can recover that money. So of the 10,600,000 that was diverted, 10,046,000 was recovered. So on our side, the seller side things, we can dig in and we can hurry and we can a lot of times recover. Buyer sides, year to date, 11,600,000. So $11 million worth of your buyer's funds has been diverted, and they were only able to recover 4 million. So 7 million of it is gone and will not be recovered.
I make a little comment just based on my personal experience with this one. So the other thing that they'll do, my gal that fell for it, and it looked, you guys, it looked legit. Unless you know what to watch for. So as soon as I read like the first 3 words, I was like, this is a freaking hacker. This is not cool. But she didn't read it that way. But they will oftentimes, I think they target a weekend because like they were pushing like you got to wire before like Friday afternoon, Friday, as soon as possible, Friday, as soon as possible, immediately when convenient, like these words like immediately when convenient for you, but I need it now, or we're gonna hold things up. They knew the day we were closing, they knew all of those things. They had a very good looking logo that looks just like the email was slightly off, those kind of things. But the reason, so when she went back to the bank also, which Louis was pissed because the bank should have caught it because it was supposedly a company, but then also it had a personal name attached to the account. So there was things that the bank also should have caught. But when she went back into the bank Saturday morning, when she realized it, by that point, it's nearly impossible to catch it because she wired on a Friday. Next time before anyone will even look at anything is a Monday.
Yep.
And by that point, it's gone. So just be aware of that too. Like they're pretty freaking savvy.
And if it's a holiday weekend, even more so.
Mhm.
They will target those 3-day weekends and make a real push on Friday to try and get people to send their money on Friday.
Are they using the same bank account for wire too? Like, to me, it should be pretty easy that if you keep opening bank accounts.
Like, can I go to Wells Fargo and stand there and be like, who opened this
Yes,
account?
that's
Right.
what we were like. how
They
can
had
we
that
not
question
treat-
too.
Yeah, why is that not?
Mhm.
Like, how many accounts does this hacker have? Like, if you had 200 bank accounts.
Yeah.
I think you're a real person.
Well, and, you know, this wire, if we send it, would be addressed to Mr. Cooper Mortgage. Can he open an account in the name of Mr. Cooper Mortgage? Because Wells Fargo should reject a wire that's to my account at this account number, but it really says Mr. Cooper Mortgage. So there are definitely some things that I'm like, why does that work?
And what they told my client, because she had to file a police report and everything, which by the way, to this day, nearly 2.5 years later, still hasn't received money. No, she won't. They pretty much said like, even if they went to, by the time, so I think they have them to hit from the cop, who knows, it was a clinic, police officer.
Yeah.
But basically what they said is they'll have like all of them will hit into one account. They'll instantly transfer those into a different account and they'll close this and they'll transfer. He says they'll track, sometimes they'll transfer them 3 and 4 times before they go to like an offshore account or whatever. So
Yeah,
it's
they try and
really
make
like
it
that,
hard to
it's
chase.
hard to chase it, because by the time they find the account that it goes to, that account's closed and onto a different, that account closed onto a different.
Back when I was at Surety and we had one where a guy provided bank account info and I was like, you SOB, I'm gonna get you. So I actually called the FBI's, it's like IIC, Internet Crimes Task Force. And they were like, okay, well, how much was the loss? And I was like, well, there isn't one, but we have their information. So let's go get them. And they were like, until there's a lot, you realize how much we're chasing right now in losses. We can't do anything until they lose money. I was like, so our alternative is scare the hell out of our buyers because they're really the target right now. The other terrifying thing about Fidelity. So one of the services that we have is called In Here, and it's a digital information gathering system. All buyers, all sellers get an email from it, and it makes them verify who they are and stuff. one of the things that all of the buyers that close with Fidelity have to do is digitally sign wire instructions that go through and detail all this stuff. Hey, do not accept emailed wire instructions. These are the only ones you'll get through the whole transaction. Confirm against these. All of them signed them. None of them read them enough to worry about. So really, I always push back onto my agents, like, don't provide wire instructions. Tell your buyers that people are trying to steal their money. Make them scared to go to the bank. Like, I would much rather have a buyer double and triple check their wire instructions than wire them and 2 or 3 years later not have their life savings, you know? Oh, do you want to click back on that? There we go. Oops.
You should go back.
There we go. Yep. So this one, it's probably been 5 or 6 years now when I wrote this. There was a case in Kansas where Mrs. Coleman was an agent. She had a listing. A cash buyer came along unrepresented. And, you know, as agents, we're like, yeah, cool. A property investor who doesn't have an agent, I am going to do everything I can to earn this guy's business. So they go under contract. They're getting towards closing. That buyer says, hey, you know, can I get wire instructions and a settlement statement? And he gets wire instructions and a settlement statement and eventually wires his money. Shows up at closing a couple days later. The title company is like, great, now we need you to go to the bank and wire some money to us. And he goes, I did that when you emailed me. And of course, then at that point, 2 or 3 days later, it was far too late for anyone to do anything about it. So he wired $196,000 to the wrong account because he was a cash buyer. So this was not just down payment money. Mrs. Coleman said, this isn't my fault. He got mad, sued everybody, sued her and her broker, the title company, everybody. And Mrs. Coleman was like, why are you suing me? I didn't do anything. I was just helping out. I believe that the brokerage settled, and I believe the title company settled for some. In discovery, she went and defended herself. And in discovery, they said, hey, well, what about this email? And they showed her an email, looked just like her email, just like those ones that we were looking at. It had her face on it. It had her signature line on it. Looked like it was just like an email she would have sent that contained the wiring instructions. So what had happened is the bad guys had access to her email and they were watching. And when her client said, hey, can I get wire instructions? They just waited, went to the title. She emailed the title company, asked them for it. They provided them to her. And then the bad guys took that email out of her inbox. So she didn't see she had gotten it, and then sent an email to her client with bad wire instructions and the right settlement statement. So everything looked really, really legit. And she still was like, how is that my fault? I didn't send that email. Like, what's going on? So they actually went to a jury trial, and the jury found that this buyer should reasonably be able to trust an email that comes from her. So they put the onus on her, which they often do with us as professionals. We're supposed to have this higher standard of care, and they found her liable for 85% of the loss. And she got a personal judgment for $167,000.
Wait.
Yeah, maybe. Bankruptcy does if you don't own any real estate. Because if I'm her or that guy's attorney, I am filing that thing in every county in the state. But yeah, I mean, just trying to be a good agent. She just wanted to help this guy. And because her email was not protected enough, he got taken advantage of, and now she paid the price. So wire fraud is super real and super scary. The big takeaway is scare your clients.
We had one last month that she lives in California, moving here with her grandkids. She's 85 and she wanted to send us earnest money, which, okay, she said she was just gonna send it not through Earnest app. She was just gonna send us a check in the mail. So we told everybody, so everybody's on the same page. And then she decided, no, I'm wiring it. So she's at the bank wiring it. I call Chris and he's like, okay, so we get her the wire instructions to get it going. And then she calls me and says, the bank won't let me wire it to your office. And I was like, oh, okay. So she called her agent and said, we're not wiring it unless it's to a title company. So I mean, kudos to the bank for being a little more strict, but we did have that.
There's a reason we want you to use the earnest app, guys, like. This is so serious,
Mhm.
so serious, and we don't want you to be liable, and we don't wanna be liable,
Right.
and they look real, and I had had conversations. And,
Oh, yeah.
and people to have conversations, cause even just the thing they sign.
Yeah.
We have them sign wire fraud, that's why. we-
Yeah, you guys have a disclosure for it
Right,
too.
you've got a
Yep.
disclosure, and at the end of the day, like, this is just one example that in the event somebody tries to sue you and decides it's your fault, this is now case study that could come in.
So now when they sue you, they'll go back
Yeah.
and go, oh, Mrs. Coleman was liable. So,
We did that. Chris went through it with me on the numbers.
Yep.
I called my client, went through it with the numbers,
Yeah.
make sure they matched.
yeah. And I have had
And
banks do
they
that
said
before.
no.
I've had banks either tell them no or say, where did you get these wire instructions?
Yep.
You know, did you get these by email? If you got them by email, we're not gonna use them. So I've had banks call me at the time of them wiring and be like, okay, I just need to verify these are real because they didn't get them in person. So ideally, if your closing structure works right and you're gonna settle early enough that they can wire their funds before their settlement deadline, have them just get their wire instructions at closing. That's the best way. Sometimes you can't do that because you're settling at 4, settlement deadline's 5, they won't have time to go to the bank. So they may need them ahead of time. That's when you take those extra steps of making sure that they got the right email, that they read the wire instructions to.
And I would even just tell them even still, because I had that, like, we had a plan, we were meeting on Monday. They were gonna, I said, cause she was like, well, how do I get the money? I said, you're just gonna come to closing, we're gonna hand you the wire instructions. And unfortunately, she wasn't super savvy, she hadn't had a lot of experience in real estate. And so when someone emailed her, and she's a rule follower, so especially pay attention to, like, when you're talking to your people, you know who they are. And even though I felt like I had multiple conversations that even said, you're just gonna get wire instructions at closing, we don't even worry about it before then. You'll pick them up at closing, so just come and then you'll take that paper that we hand you directly to the bank and you'll wire then. But she gets an email saying, oh, sorry, we need to do this. And she even replied back and it said, I'm in a meeting, I can't talk. So
We
don't call
get
me,
money
but
bills from you.
but I will, but I need you to do this right away, cause she's like, well, I'm at work. And it was like, can you leave work? You need to do it by this time. Immediately, as quickly as possible. But instead of calling, when I had said, like, you are not gonna get wire instructions, you're gonna pick them up. I had said that, you're gonna hand them to you at the title company. Instead of her going ding, 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 she's like, oh no. And you gotta remember, like, you deal with stuff like this every day. Your clients' emotions are high. They don't deal with these things every day. So for her, she was like, oh, I don't wanna hold anything up. I gotta go do that right now. Like, she left work and went and wired money because it was like, this has to happen today in order to have it funded on time. We don't wanna hold anything up. So it all sounds very legitimate. So use those, like, you may get an email that says that. If you're not expecting it, even if you are, you still need to call and verify. If it says they're in a meeting, that's a huge red flag, that that is not real. They are always gonna want you to verify those instructions.
And, you know, give them your title company's info, give them your escrow officer's phone number and say, okay, listen. If you get wire instructions, I want you to call me, but if you can't get a hold of me before you do anything, call this person. This is a valid number. Don't trust anything you see in an email. If you see a different phone number in an email, it could be wrong. Because back on those ones that we had, they would modify our email by, or our phone number by like a digit.
Yeah.
Like this one says Ryan H at suretyutah.net. My email was Ryan at suretyutah.net. So they'll tweak it just enough that it seems legit. And like that one, they put my name on the email and they said closing018@gmail.com. So they try and make it look as legit as possible. And a sense of urgency on them is another thing. Because she didn't feel like she had time to stop and call me because she had to get to the bank. Because if I don't get to the bank, I'm not going to be able to fund my transaction. And she did have time. She needs to have time. And it's a great point that we deal with this all the time. I deal with it every day. You guys deal with it as you have settlements coming up. These buyers, we think wire fraud is super in the front of everybody's mind. It's not. They buy a house a few times in their life. So they need us to be putting the fear of God into them about wiring their money because it can go somewhere where they don't want to go. Any other thoughts or experiences they want to share?
Well, just one thing because, we work with the transaction planner, our title team, and there's a lot coming at our clients at any given time throughout the transaction, and we always let our clients know, like, we always let them know who is on our team, who's on our title team, who's on our transaction coordination team, all the things, and we let them know if you get anything from any of us, like, reach out, like, I always see everything before I send it to you guys. These people are, they send it for me.
Yep.
But nothing's ever too urgent.
Yeah.
And call us first, like,
Yep.
pump the brakes.
Yep, don't
And
trust
give
an
us
email.
examples. Especially when you're working, when you have other people, that your transaction planners, other people that are working for, with you and in your voice. And it's really important that they understand that they might be getting other information from other people like you. And that's a really good way, loophole for some of these people can.
Yep.
Track into them.
Because if you think about a buyer, they're gonna talk to you, your TC, the loan officer, maybe the loan officer's assistant, probably a processor. On my side, they're gonna have my open order gal who will welcome them to the transaction, my gal who works up closings, me, maybe another escrow officer if they're covered. Like, there's lots of people that they don't know who we are, so doubt emails. If you get an email, don't trust it. If you have a question, I'm your go-to, call me. I'm always happy to take your call. Nothing is ever too urgent that you can't call me first. It's a great thing to tell your clients.
I was gonna say, I didn't think of it to do with this, but I have a phone number that I use for work with clients that everything is recorded. I try to get all of my clients through that phone number because then that way it covers your butts. And
Yeah.
we did have a conversation on this
Yeah.
day.
We talked 2 or 3 times about not wiring money.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably a great option.
See if Google will do that. I don't know. I think we're a different service. But there's gotta be something that you can record your phone number.
And you guys know that in Utah, it's only required that one party knows the phone is being recorded. You don't have to have your client's permission to record between you and them. Yeah, Utah that's why we have so many telemarketing companies. Because as long as the telemarketing company knows it's being recorded, that satisfies the requirements. But might be a great way to cover your butt. If you know you're having that conversation with people and you don't want it to come back and them say, no, I didn't know that. Kind of a good way.
Along those same, we will say like, or whoever's gonna be doing that specific document, it's our title. This
Yeah.
transaction. This, they know.
Yep. Yeah. And, teach them about emails too, because I could send them an email so they see Ryan Hoskins, and then the bad guys send them an email that says Ryan Hoskins. If they don't look at the email address portion of it, if they're just looking at the name that pops up on their phone, they could think it's from me or you or their processor and be sending their money somewhere else. Any other thoughts or things you want to share? Don't be Mrs. Coleman.
Well, that would be so sad.
And I would just say, reiterating it throughout. Because just because you have the conversation when you did your buyer program or you did your listing agreement, whatever you did with that, they are not going to remember that throughout because again, they don't do it.
For sure.
When you just different key points of the transaction, reiterate it.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's a great point, because I would put money on the fact that most of your clients, if you came to them after the transaction and said, do you remember the disclosure you signed for me about wire fraud? They'd be like, signed like 40 things for you. Yeah. And they'll go, I don't know, I just went DocuSign and I just went like this. And was one in there about wire fraud? So they may have, like Fidelity, they may have signed my disclosure. Doesn't mean they read it or they understood it or they know what it meant. So it's great to have those conversations with them. And again, a couple of different times, a week out of closing, have another one and say, we're getting close to closing. This is when the bad guys target. I do my best to keep my email secure, but hackers are savvy folks. So you never know. If you get an email, it might come from a TC or a processor or something. Doubt it. And call me before you wire.
and especially remind them too, like, I think a lot of times we instantly think, oh, our emails realtors got hacked. Like, she was using an old like MSN account or something like that.
My mom.
So most like, right, probably similar age range, right? So most likely it was from her own email that it was hacked. Maybe it was through mine. I don't know. I have a two-step verification process.
Yeah.
So even just reminding them, hey, while we're under process, I mean, actually, have you changed your password? Because maybe they do have something that's tracking. So I mean, I'm just telling you guys, number one, you shouldn't be skimming over any forms, and if you have questions on how to go through and present every contract, weird is that we have one in-depth, just Repsy, how to present at class every single month, and we have Ken every single Friday who does compliance. So you should never just be emailing DocuSigns and saying, sign them and call me with questions. You should be going in detail on every single thing that they're signing, and you guys know I feel super passionate about that. And then continuing to follow up and use real life examples. That's a good time to even just remind them, like, hey, if you haven't changed your password recently, it's probably a good time to do it, right? You're entering into one of the largest purchases or sales that you're ever going to make in your life. It's probably a good time to change your password in the event somebody could have hacked your email or something. So just those little reminders throughout the whole time. I feel like I do a very good job of this. And even after it happened, I was like, oh my God, like, even though I had the conversation 3 days ago, should I have called her this morning and said, don't forget, we're just gonna get closing, we're gonna get the wire instructions at closing, right? Because for that woman, it was more money than she made in a year. That was just gone. You know, and how many people, like $167,000, not everybody's gonna be able to recover from something like that. So, I mean, luckily the poor woman wasn't homeless.
Yeah.
Because the way that the circumstances worked out, that she could still close on the home, but it changed everything, right? It changed the amount of money she could put down. It changed everything. And had to read it. It was like a big deal, you know, and it's really sad and it's scary. And I promise you that if that ever even comes close to happening to you, you're going to second guess every single piece of your process. And if you don't have a good process, if you're not talking to people regularly, it's gonna be even worse. At least I knew I had a solid process. I knew we had the conversation. Even as I saw it, and she sent me a screenshot, as soon as I saw the email, it's like, that's not the email. And I said, I was like, oh my gosh, like, do you remember we signed this and I told you we were gonna pick them up? She goes, now that you say that, I remember, it just seems so urgent. So just, you can never be safe enough that if you don't have a good process, please implement that.
Don't get comfy.
Don't get too comfortable.
And that's all I have for you. Any other questions or concerns? Anybody want to chime in? Any last things?
It does happen. I haven't had it happen since I've been in this brokerage, but private brokerage I was at in 2022, they had 3 fraud cases that were worth about $500,000. And Vanguard was involved in 2 of them, and we actually got the money back for us. So one was not, but you're gonna get sued. If that happens, you're gonna get sued. It's just,
Yeah, because people are gonna want to get their money back some way.
yeah, it's the old shotgun effect.
Yep.
They're gonna sue you, they're gonna sue the brokerage, you're gonna sue the title company, everybody.
Cast as big a net as you can.
Yeah.
And even if you end up being okay and not owing money from it and not being Mrs. Coleman, you're gonna have to defend yourself and you're gonna have attorney fees and it's gonna be ugly. So preach to your people, teach them, know that this is the one time this year they're gonna think about wire fraud. Even if you hear about it monthly, daily, you know, make sure that you pass that down and dumb down the information as much as you can. So I really do. I tell people that I want to scare you about wires because it's super real. 200 million just at Fidelity attempted diversions this year to date. We're not. It's terrifying.
Maybe low cashier's check more.
Yeah, I know. And then the state says nothing over 10,000 can be a cashier's check. Yeah. So it's like, nope. Yeah, exactly.
Briefcase. small
Yeah.
amount.
Exactly.
That doesn't look either,
I
right?
know. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. Yeah, I was like, no.
In your house. Second of all, we can't take cash.
Yep. I actually had a client who his I think his folks were here from Central America and they don't often keep a lot of money in the bank and they work hard. So they were doing the same thing. They call it mattress money.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't want to deposit this in the bank. I just want to bring it to the title company. And I was like, I am not taking $150,000 from you. I don't care where you got it or how. You got to open an account and go put it in the bank, sir. So.
This was grandma's cash and the cops we actually had to set up with the bank after hours with police escort. Going into the bank first.
She had so much money.
She had so much cash.
Crazy. Right.
Anyway, that was
Anything you
awesome.
want to chime in?
You guys
Adrian?
are Adrian from our Amicus team. If you don't know her, get to know her. She's amazing. She works with Team Heather. And Ryan, that was great. And so as usual, you have the best team. So I believe we have. Yeah, do you want to get there? We'll go back up and. Oh.
You only do 10,000 to go to the title company. Not even for shares.
Where that 10,000 comes from is the state's definition of good funds that like we can then spend. They say anything under 10,000, cash.
Diamond Painting is our sponsor today. Come on in, you guys.
Spend that. I could actually take a bigger cashier's check, but I have to look and make sure it is clear than.
Hi, thanks for coming.
Today. I'm Angelo, owner of Diamond League Painting. This is Mandy, all right. We're here today for more likely just to get our name out there. Also too, I've been in the painting industry for 15 years. And so I kind of know how things go. So recently with starting my own company, I'm able to give the quality work for a decent price. And also working with the realtors, which I do have some working that I'm working with now. It's just kind of helping to get the home to look that much even more beautiful for you guys to sell. So it's kind of a win-win for us, you know, we can go in there. And it's more for, we can go, if they need new trim, put in drywall patches, anything like that. And so we're not just paint specifically. So if you guys look for something that the house that needs a little bit more work, you know, give us a call. We're free estimates, and we're, like I said, we're here to kind of get our name out and help everybody around us and help us too. Like I said, with the great prices and good quality, we also offer a 1-year warranty on most of our projects. So if it's something that like more of a flip, then we kind of go from there. But if it's something that's long term that we know and the customers are, you know, want that warranty to follow underneath them, then we can go ahead and do that as well. We do have some brochures and some cards that we're gonna hand out to give to you guys, if you guys wanna pass those around to, yeah. And, let me see one of those. And so, and what we got here is that if you hand this to anybody that, you know, you got, if they mention your guys' name, you know, they can get up to the 50% off of their. On the back, it has, you know, kind of what we do. A few QR codes that if you guys want to go in and check out, you know, Facebook and on Google. But like I said, I appreciate you guys having us here. We do have a lunch provided, but if you guys can just try to help us get our name out there and don't hesitate to give us a call for any houses that, you know, need any type of fixing. So
You do outfit too.
inside, outside.
Drywall repair, concrete, cabinet, painting.
So it's basically all from, you know, we're licensed to contract, general contracted, from the epoxy floors to, you know, mostly anything, like I said, trim. So instead of calling, well, we have to have the drywallers come in, and trim guys come in, and then the painters, we can kind of do it all. Besides electrician and flooring, it's, kind of what we don't offer, but everything else. So, but that's about it for the most part. I mean,
What areas do you guys?
we go from Logan to past Salt Lake. So it's a pretty big window, you know. I know there's a lot of competition with paint right now. for some reason, I don't know, a lot of people are wanting to do it. So, there is gonna be a lot of people, but I'm here today to say, you know, me, this is my faith in it, you know, you guys can give me a call and we can help you out, and looking forward to doing, you know, business with you guys. And thank you.
How far out are you scheduled?
Right now I'm 2 weeks, so if there's anything, a project that's even coming up that you guys are looking at, maybe when you guys show it to, I have one of them, they were showing the house, same time they were showing the house, I was there, for taking measurements. So, and that's just to get them on the schedule, you know, if you guys wanna wait till after the clients are added there, and then we can go in. But the sooner the better, just to get you on.
So, and my name is Mandy, I'm not just his wife, I'm also his business partner. So I've been, an operations manager for over 15 years. I actually work with Wait, so for those of you who know Wait, that's how we got in touch with him. We worked Zoom. Yeah, we got together for like 10, we worked together for like about 10 years. And then we do have another realtor that we work with, so if you need a reference on how the work goes, her name is Crystal, we can actually give you that information as well. Awesome. Any other questions?
Awesome, thanks you guys. Please enjoy lunch, and you guys can hang out and chat while people are eating if you want to, and then I can put some of these, I'll show you where we've got it.
Yeah, I think they saw your mailer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can put some of those there, so then, and people will always like. "Here's that for me."
Yes.
Or, yeah. Thank you.